Another week, boys, and another TWAB. This week at Bungie, we shared our prophecy, challenge, mystery, the 9, deserts, cubes, and whiteboards. Earlier this week, we did a deep dive on our newest dungeon, featuring some behind-the-scenes developer commentary. Did you miss it? Well, let's fix that. Hit the jump for the recap. Yeah, that's right, guys. I actually had a stream on Tuesday from the developers' perspectives that designed the Prophecy Dungeon, which is arguably one of the best dungeons Bungie has ever done. Feel free to check that out if you want to just get an inside look, especially for my aspiring developers, because I'm not a dev, but I did hear a lot of people that are into game development that really enjoyed that stream. Now, DMG continues. These are some of our favorite streams to host. We've opened the minds of our designers to bridge the gap between guardians and developer and get you into their headspace. If you're not in a place where you can watch a stream, we also released a companion blog article. What does it take to build out a dungeon? How did these ideas come out? And most importantly, how many lines did John 2 write to stay occupied when quarantine began? I don't think I've ever put that many questions into a single intro, but it's fun to embrace the chaos, isn't it? By the way, that article will be linked in the description below, guys. Essentially written by Deej there, the dungeon driving prophecy. Some cool stuff. Let me just give you a quote from Brendan here. He says that it's really exciting. The pyramid ships are here, and we have a sense that something awful is about to happen. What do they call these big cataclysmic events? Black Swan events. One that reverberates and changes everything. It feels like a sudden surprise in the moment, but when you look at it in reverse, you can see exactly how it was made possible. Really cool stuff there, and essentially the Prophecy Dungeon, considering it's called the Prophecy, is just foreshadowing of what's to come. No lie, I hope we get a raid in the future at some point with the same art style or a similar art style to the Prophecy Dungeon. Let me know your thoughts on that, guys. That retro style? Oh, moving on! Ironheads. Lord Saladin returns to host the second Iron Banner of the season. Before we get too deep, if you haven't heard of the Iron Banner, let's give a quick lesson. First, get your power up. The activity offers power-enabled combat in the Crucible. So that means your opponents might have an edge if they are 5 or more power above you. Second, snag weekly bounties from Lord Saladin in the tower before jumping in. You can earn some pinnacle power gear when completing their objectives. Third, capture the zones. The more zones you hold, the more points you get whenever you defeat an enemy. Fourth, stick with your teammates. While being a lone wolf can be fun, hunting with the pack can yield the best results. Honestly, that's pretty much Iron Banner in a nutshell. I will say this season, above all the other seasons previously, Pinnacles are way easier to complete. The Iron Banner quest in general is way easier to complete. So even if you don't want the weapons, I would still jump in there just to get the Pinnacles. But the Forward Path, as well as Fool's Remedy, will be available to obtain again next week alongside random rolls. Forward Path is actually an excellent auto rifle. It's a 600 round per minute auto, definitely in that meta archetype. Fool's Remedy is not necessarily meta, but it's a good archetype. It's one of my favorites. It's that Soros rapid fire archetype. Both of these weapons we've done God roll reviews of. Feel free to check them out. Highly suggest going after them, especially if you want to give that Iron Gaze and Iron Grip perks a try on these weapons, as they really are unique. Last but not least, if you are in search of enhanced armor mods or just high stat rolls for your armor, Iron Banner does offer these things. And considering that we're actually going to have an extra 2 months here added to this season, I don't think I'm going to be saving up many tokens right now. I'm probably going to burn them, probably go after some God rolls. I'm already kind of in grind mode to prepare for the November release, previously September. But now that it's been pushed back, I might as well burn all these tokens while we got them. Now moving on, we have a hotfix preview. Next Tuesday, update 2.9.1 will be rolling out. Some key things here, guys. First up, the Nightfall, the Ordeal. Fix an issue where the Ordeal version of Lake of Shadows was inaccessible at tiers above Adept for players who do not own Forsaken. I think somebody even brought this to my attention the other day with another strike. Fix an issue where the Festering Core Master Nightfall was listed as 1080 power in the Director, but was actually 750 power. Guardians should expect a much greater challenge when engaging with this strike. All right, so yeah, next week is supposed to be Lake of Shadows. We talked about it in the past. Sub 20-minute runs, potentially 10-minute runs, but that's kind of a push. I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a limb and say Lake of Shadows next week, Grandmaster Platinum, 15 minutes or less, which by the way will be the best grind you will ever experience inside of Destiny in terms of like loot per hour. The sheer amount of materials you will get from that. So the previous Nightfall, Corrupted, Savathûns. I wouldn't necessarily say you have to do those Nightfalls, unless of course you're going after the titles, but Lake of Shadows, if you're purely just trying to focus on a Nightfall that will greatly reward you for your time invested, this will be it. Dude, watch it be the hardest Nightfall. I don't know. Bungie might just overload the hell out of the thing. We'll have like 20 of each champion or something. We'll see. Raids, Leviathan rewards of XP, Glimmer, and chances toward exotic Ingrams or Bright Ingrams are now back on the weekly lockout. Weapons and armor are not affected by the weekly lockout and can be earned multiple times a week. Investment, fix an issue where some players cannot acquire the means to end quests from the prismatic recaster. Armor fixes, fix an issue where Ruinous Effigy could trigger the heal from Stronghold Titan exotic armors while blocking with the carry object. Dude, I ought to be kicking myself right now. I'm gonna go ahead and be upfront with y'all. I apologize. Your man's been slacking. In the build department, I have been slacking. But we saw this a few weeks ago. Essentially, the orb that Ruinous drops upon getting a kill, while blocking, you would trigger the heal effects if you were wearing strongholds. Sounds kind of busted. Nah, not really. It was fun, right? But yeah, it's gonna be patched next week. Fix an issue where Umbral stat focus Ingrams could provide less than 10 in the selected stat. Huh. Okay then, Bungie states here at the bottom we'll have a few more patch notes in the article next week, but this is a short and sweet update to tackle a few minor issues found over the last few weeks. As far as known issues, because there are some known issues that will not be addressed just yet, players who acquire Calcified Light without the pendulum step of the growth quests in their inventory will be blocked from completing the quests. Holy hell. Picking up a throwing hammer while holding a sword will not recharge Titan's melee ability when running Code of the Devastator. That's not good. Enemies in the hexahedron encounter of Prophecy Dungeon can stop spawning. Previously uncensored nicknames on Steam are now being censored. Thank God. I like Steam names, but they were getting a little out of hand. The Seasons tab of the director will flash to indicate an available reward when none are there. All right, those are your known issues, guys. They will be addressed at some point. The final note here at the bottom, while Moments of Triumph is in full swing, we still have summer fun on the way. Solstice of Heroes begins in under 2 weeks. Hard to believe that it'll be August in less than 2 days. Next week, we have Iron Banner to play on Tuesday and some Solstice details to dive through in the Thursday's TWAB. Now it's time to get started on my solo flawless prophecy completion. Cosmo will give you an update next week on whether I succeeded or failed in spectacular fashion. Till then, we'll see you Starside. Much love, DMG. That's right, guys. Solstice of Heroes won't begin next week, but the week after, which means Traveler's Chosen should be dropping by then, or the quests related to it should be available. What does that put? What date is that? August the 11th? Okay, August the 11th. Yeah, same date. We should be able to go after Traveler's Chosen. That is an exotic sidearm. Yes, it looks nasty. Comes with the exotic perk, Gathering Light. Final blows of this weapon grants stacks of Gathering Light. Consuming the stacks grants melee grenade and class ability energy based on the number of those stacks. Comes with a trait as well, Gift of the Traveler. Each stack of Gathering Light improves this weapon's reload handling and target acquisition. The 300 round per minute sidearm. It's got some very, very healthy stats, guys. I mean, 82 range. Good lord. I think it's going to be okay on PC. For my console guys, especially inside of things like Trials, you see Drain really gets a lot of usage inside of Trials. Traveler's Chosen could easily replace Drain. I guess it's going to come down to its trait though, how it performs its exotic perk. However, it does have an exotic catalyst here, which does not seem to specify what it does, which means normally in this case, when it doesn't show like a stat bump or anything, there's going to be something creative that ties to the exotic perk as well as the trait of the weapon. I'm sure we're going to get some more information on it next week, unless Bungie just lets us go in blind. Either way it goes, guys, Iron Banner's returning next week. Not overly eventful if you've already hit up Iron Banner this past season. I'm going to be on vacation. I've got some uploads coming out, but your man's taking a trip. I got to go hang out with the family. Do the thing, man. I get to see sunlight twice a year. This is my final moment to get all the vitamin D in that I can before hibernating. And then it's just all gaming, baby. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.